Next up, looking at our steering wheel settings here. So first thing I'm going to point out, we've got paddle shifters here. So that's going to let us control what gear we're in. Really, really cool to do that as we're driving. Again, this is an automatic vehicle, but those paddle shifters give you that little bit of extra oomph as you're driving. Off to the left-hand side here to start, we've got our volume rockers. So volume up, down, or mute. And from here, we've got our seek button, so we can move between the stations that we've got, or if we're listening to an MP3 player or our phone, we can skip between songs using that button here. Moving down now, so the vehicle here is equipped with adaptive cruise control. So all we would do is turn the cruise control on. Once we get to the speed that we'd like, we're going to press the set button here or here, and that's pretty much it. This next button here is going to control the distance that we are in front of the vehicle in front of us. So as you can see here, these lanes, let's focus in on that a little bit here. So the lanes either increase or decrease depending on the button that we're pressing, and that's going to let us know how far away we're going to be from that vehicle in front of us. We can cancel our cruise control and then we can turn it on or off from here. Moving on to the right-hand side of the steering wheel now. So these buttons here are going to let us move between different menus here. And then this button off to the side is going to be our voice command menu, our voice command option. So that's going to let us either use our navigation. We can change radio stations, make phone calls, etc. using this button here. Moving down now, we've got the fun part. So we've got our navigation here. So if we click that nav button, as you can see, we can choose between our navigation settings. So rather than having to look at that center console screen, we can look at that 12-inch instrument cluster instead. Press that nav button again in order to make that go away. From here, we've got our phone button, so we can either answer a phone call or we can hang up on a phone call. And then another option is pressing our settings button here. Jumping into our settings now, as you can see, we've got a ton of different options. So we've got our trip and fuel info. So that's going to be our trip here. In order to reset the trip values, all we're going to do is press and hold the OK button here on the steering wheel. And then that's going to reset us out from there. And moving up and down now, so we've got two different trips. We've got our fuel economy, tire pressure, and then a blank screen here. Moving back into our settings again. So we've got some added settings now. So we've got driver assist. Auto engine off is going to kill power to the engine when we're stopped at a light. It doesn't happen all the time. It is occasional when it does happen. Blind spot indicators are going to let us know if anybody's under the blind spot on the vehicle. So if we look on our side view mirror here, if we see that little guy, so that's going to highlight orange when somebody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. Pre-collision assist is going to pre-charge the brakes if the vehicle detects a potential collision. So it's going to pre-charge the brakes and then it's going to actively brake if we don't respond in time. I recommend keeping this one on, but if you're a little bit more of a performance driver, you can turn it off from here. Next up is going to be our cross-traffic alert. So if a vehicle's coming at us from a perpendicular direction, so from our left or our right, there's going to be an audible warning letting us know that there's a potential collision. And that's a really, really cool system to keep on. Next up, we've got our cruise control, so we can either use the buttons down here as our adaptive cruise control, which again, I recommend keeping it on. The adaptive cruise is such a damn great setting to use. Once you get the hang of it, I guarantee you'll never go back to regular cruise control again. Driver alert is going to be tied into the lane keeping system. So the lane keeping system, if we get too many alerts letting us know that we're veering over into lanes, or drifting over, I should say, without signaling, then it's going to tell us that we should rest. Our rear parking aid is going to be that beeping that we get as we get closer to an obstacle behind us. Lane keeping system, we've got 3 different modes. So we've got the alert, which is going to give us an audible alert. So it's going to be a steering wheel shake. From here, we've got the aid, which is going to recenter us and pull us back into our lane. And we've got the alert and the aid, which is going to do both. So we'll get a little bit of a steering wheel shake as well as a recenter pulling us back into our lane. Now, obviously, that's not going to be the case if we're trying to actively get out of the way of a collision. The vehicle's not just going to pull us back in and, make us get into an accident. From here, we've got the intensity of that steering wheel shake. So I don't know if you heard it there, but it is a fairly high shake when it is on high versus a little bit more of a subtle one if it's on that medium or low. Moving back here, we've now got wipers, which is going to be either courtesy wipe or rain sensing. I recommend keeping the rain sensing wipers on. You've got them, you may as well use them. Off to, since we're on the windshields here, the wipers, so the right stick here is going to let us control the windshield wiper settings here. So we're going to pull in towards us in order to be able to use that windshield wiper fluid. And then we can control how much fluid, we can control the speed of the of the windshield wipers by adjusting this here. And moving back a screen now into our speedometer. So we're currently in kilometers an hour, I should say. So if you have a preference, if you'd rather have miles per hour showing there as well, we can simply select that button to do that. Moving down into our advanced settings, so we've got some vehicle settings with our alarm. So our alarm settings, so either all sensors, perimeter, etc. I do recommend keeping it on all sensors active. So one of the cool things about the Mustang, if we hop up here for a second and take a look, and let's focus in here. So these little guys here, so there's two here that look like they might be speakers or microphones, I should say. They're actually not. They're sensors. So if the windows are rolled down and the vehicle's locked, if somebody reaches in, the alarm is going to go off. So it's a really, really cool setting to have. I recommend keeping that one on. Easy entry exit, very straightforward. What that's going to do, it's going to allow us to get into the vehicle without actually hitting the unlock button on our key fob. The vehicle is going to sense that it's there. And then our lighting here, so auto lamp delay, how long do the lights stay on when we turn the vehicle off? Oh, one more thing that I missed there. So our lighting, our auto high beams. So tied into the automatic lights, auto high beams are automatically going to turn the high beams on or off. It's going to dim them as necessary, just depending on whether or not the high beams are needed. So yeah, could you use this right stick in order to pull in or push away to turn the high beams on? Absolutely. Or you can just not do it and let the vehicle do it for you. So personal preference there. Jumping back here and moving down, we've now got some options for our lock. So we can do auto unlock, remote unlock, etc. So, the remote unlock, what happens when the remote unlock happens? Do all doors get unlocked, or is it just the driver's door instead? Moving down here, we've got switch inhibit, oil life reset. So if you get an oil change in the vehicle, we would go here in order to be able to adjust that and reset our oil life. When the vehicle's remote started, what happens? Looking here at our climate control, we can either have it set up for auto, so the vehicle's automatically going to determine what the climate should be in the vehicle, or we could go into our last setting. So when the vehicle was last turned on, that's where that last setting would be. Seats and wheel, what happens there? Do they automatically get adjusted? And then the duration of the remote start. Is it going to last for 5, 10, or 15 minutes? And then we can turn the system off completely. Now, as I mentioned, the vehicle does have that tire mobility kit with a 4-year lifespan, so it's going to let you know when it should be replaced. And moving down from here, we now have got our windows, so our remote open, which we did cover off a minute ago. From here, we've got our My Key, so we can create an individual fob to be able to control certain aspects of the vehicle. So one thing would be, let's say if you wanted the vehicle to only go a certain speed, if you've got a certain key fob in the vehicle. So if you're lending your vehicle out to somebody, you don't want them to go 180 on the highway, you can limit the speed so it can't go past a certain speed. And then display setup, again, goes back into some of the things that we covered on that Sync 3 screen there. So we can change between the measurement units here, temperature, tire pressure, and then our language. And then moving back from there, that's our advanced settings. And those are going to be the generic settings here. Next up, we've got 2 other buttons here that we haven't covered off. So moving down a teeny little bit. So from here, we've got our audio button. And that's going to let us choose between the sources here. So AM, FM, Sirius XM. Press it again to get rid of it. And lastly, the pony. Oh yeah, the pony. Here we go. So jumping into the pony mode now. As you can see, we've got a lot of different options in here. So we've got different statuses. So status of the vehicle here. Let's go back for a second and jump into pony. Exhaust mode. So the vehicle is equipped with the active valve performance exhaust, and that's going to give us a couple different options. Let's have a listen to see what that's going to be like. So it's really, really cool. From here, we've got some different track apps, really awesome here. So we can choose between our different timers here, brake performance, line locks, lap timers. It's so damn cool. I love the features when this, especially when it comes to the vehicle with that pony mode here. There's tons of stuff that you can do with it. I love it. I get excited. I get a little bit excited. Showing gauges here. Look at this. Look at this beauty. You got a little bit more control. You can see exactly what's happening with the Mustang as we're driving here. We can tweak it, moving up or down in order to get some different settings there. Pressing pony again, we've now got my color. So if you have a preference between colors on the vehicle, we can tweak that out from here. So we've got our primary, secondary color. Oh, it looks so damn cool. Or you can create a color from here. And then lastly, going to be our cluster appearance. So we can tweak a few things. Again, it's all a matter of personal preference, but your best bet is honestly play around with it. Play around with pony mode, with the colors. It's guaranteed you're going to want to change this thing up all the time for the simple fact that you can. Next up, guys, let's take a look at the other stick. So as I mentioned, so pulling in towards you, pushing away from you is going to turn those high beams on. Last one here is going to be this little button on the knob here. Now that's if the vehicle is equipped with the Ford Smart and Safe package. That's going to give you the adaptive cruise control, the blind spot system, but it's also going to give you that lane centering system. So the lane centering system is either going to be on when you press it there or off. So with the lane centering system on, if you veer over into a lane without signaling, it's going to shake the steering wheel and then recenter you and pull you back in.